Before I forget, I want to take a second to thank Proletariat Spellbreak for sponsoring this video. So, thank you. Okay, it's chapter 3. Welcome back. We're going to do these type of videos every chapter. We did one last week. Last chapter, we did one this chapter. The only difference is I can't show you the battle pass yet because they didn't show us the battle pass. So I'm going to talk to you guys about everything that's changed from the last time you played, which we hope is chapter 2. Last chapter 2 to chapter 3, and we're going to go about that way. So we're going to start with chapter 2 and then move into chapter 3. So chapter 3 brought new Banehelm, complete Banehelm remapping, rehaul thing. It used to be like a little castle. One of the few older models left in the game. It really wasn't that old now that I think about it, but now it's 100% completely different. It's in the mountain. It's got snow everywhere. It's got stuff going out where this is for chapter 2. They also revamped it for chapter 3 now, where it's like completely different. I actually talked about there was some concept art that looked like a trailer. The trailer still, by the way, when I'm recording this, is not out. So if it's out by this time and you've seen it, and then this is old news. But so in this concept art, there was like a comic strip, and it showed Banehelm kind of exploded from a different version of Banehelm that we didn't even have in chapter 2. Like there were no buildings. Now there are buildings like floating in the air, and the map is completely different than it was before. It's way more fun to fight in for chapter 3. By the way, you guys haven't probably played that yet because this is releasing on the day of release. So I mean, you might have, but who knows? So Banehelm was changed in chapter 2. We got introduced to 2 new characters, Ferric and Thaddeus in chapter 2. Thaddeus on the Vow Breakers, Ferric on the Vow Keepers, mortal enemies. They don't like each other. They fought each other in the trailer for chapter 2. Then they brought in a new kind of quest, which is outfit quests, which affect ascension skins. So ascension skins are skins that level up. So you get to do, which the first ones we saw of these, by the way, were like those elemental ones from a long time ago that you bought, and then you leveled them up later on with specific damage from a specific gauntlet. So say you bought the fire one, you upgraded through fire damage. They brought in 3 new ones, which was a stone one, a fire one, and a frost one. So we're still looking to see a wind one, a toxic one, and a lightning one. These are not class bound; they are elemental bound. So I'm excited to see what those other 3 ones are because the current ones are pretty sick. You got like a Viking lady, a giant stone monster, and then a fire pirate, which is pretty freaking cool. So they brought ascension outfits in and quests to do them, which is basically just do damage with this respective gauntlet. So then you've got Dominion came in, and with Dominion, which is the new game mode, came in ranked as well. So Dominion was a 3-point cap mode. They brought the ranked mode in, had some struggles at the beginning with trying to find the balance of how you rank up in the ranked, which is totally normal. It's a brand new thing that they've never done before, and they've never brought a new game mode into this game before. With chapter 2, they added 2 new things, which was going to be the shrines for your gauntlet. So every single shrine, there's 6 of them, obviously, because there's 6 different elements. They're placed around the map in different places. And on these shrines, though, if you used the gauntlet to destroy all of the ones at the beginning of chapter 2, it would actually give you a legendary gauntlet and it would pop up some bots. We do know what's going to stay, though, is the shrines and the brillstones around the map, which are great. They give you a little bonus on damage, and they can blow up / do damage to your opponents. If you see one, blow it up. See what happens. So also what happened with chapter 2 is they brought in bots when you open like epic chests, or they brought in like little bot clusters that would like randomly appear. Those are for quests. So there's also bots that would fight each other in the middle of the Halcyon Cathedral and over on the other side with the village. And you kind of had to like go help them. So they're bringing in more and more things like story-wise that make sense here. And I love these kind of things. Keep in mind, you've seen these robots in the Twitterverse, Instagram posts that they posted. So focus on them. They're a little bit more intimidating than like the regular bots from the last thing. Also, to end chapter 2, before we get into chapter 3, guys, we had our very first ever in-game like event type of thing. So if you finished your quests, your story quests, not necessarily the honor ones, but if you finish your story quests, it was at the very bottom of Banehelm, and it shot out this like giant brillstone. The whole point of chapter 2 was to find out who destroyed the Vital Stone of Guile. Anyways, this giant freaking red crystal vital stone thing comes out of the bottom of Banehelm and then shines a light through the thing, and then shines this giant blue ball of this breaker who kind of destroys the vital stone, and then it shatters. It was freaking cool, and to be their very first one was actually very impressive, and we had no idea it was coming. So guys, now we're gonna get into chapter 3. So up until this point, I've been talking about what happened in chapter 2. Now we're getting into chapter 3. Chapter 3, we knew getting into it was going to be less on the content, more on the core gameplay stuff. So there's no new game mode, there's no new gauntlet, there's no new class. There's no new content side stuff. This is a patch that is meant to fix the problems in the core gameplay. And I will say that it does that for the most part. I do think that balance is a million times better. Movement still, in my opinion, needs some work. It still feels a little slow, but it's much better than chapter 2. It is much better than it was currently. It just needs a little bit of tweaking. There's some things I'll talk about in a later video, but overall, they pretty much, in my opinion, did fix a lot of the problems. They added a dodge. They added a new camera angle, which was you were kind of like over the shoulder. They still have that camera angle, so don't like freak out. But now they shifted one to being center over the top. Major characters a little bit small, and that took me a really long time to get used to in the preview event. Which, by the way, I don't think I've talked about that. So thank you for inviting me to the preview event so I could get all this footage and talk about what's happening in Spellbreak. But when I first started playing it, I was like, this is just not what I want. Play with it. Just trust me. Play with it. You will eventually like it. If you absolutely hate it, like I did at the beginning, normal, it's change, it's different. You're having to relearn kind of where you want to flick your shots, and you're gonna miss a lot of shots. With that, they also added an accessibility tab, which they finally have colorblind settings, which I do have colorblindness. But for those of you who truly have like a colorblind, like can't see the colors, can't tell the difference between like rarities, this is going to help. One of the coolest changes that I think people have been asking for a long time. Well, we're gonna skip right into saying you can now view all of your tabs while you're queued for a game. You know, before, like, you couldn't go to like your cosmetics and stuff like that. You can do all of that stuff now. But when it comes to the cosmetics, you can actually set a cosmetic like build for each class. So say you want to wear the toxicologist class stuff and be on toxicologist. Well, you can just equip it to toxicologist. So when you select toxicologist, you then have that cosmetic build. You can also set an equip to all. So if you want just all of them to be the same thing, you just hit the equip to all button and boom, you have them all. So now we're gonna get into dodge. And dodge is something that Spellbreak players have been asking for a very long time, and not necessarily in like a dodge way, but back in the day there was blink. They took out blink, then dash, and people asked if dash could be brought into base movement. So now they've brought in a dodge mechanic. Now, dodge is not as good as dash. Don't get me wrong. Dodge is good. Dash is still better. Shadow step is still better, but dodge is good, and it will allow more of an open rune choice. So you can have the dodge, which by the way, its cooldown is only 1.5 seconds. You can have the dodge. It doesn't go vertical. It only goes horizontal, and it does have a little bit of a dip. So dodge is really cool. It adds like a shake up moment. Like it just adds like a different level of play. Also, when it comes to like the ramp thing, they changed base movement by +2. So your base movement is +2. And the only thing that I don't like about this is that the ramp up in chapter 2, you would just like start running. Now it's, you kind of ramp up to that start running, and you could kind of walk slow for a second, and then you kind of jump up. And I don't really like that. I think it should just jump into the sprint, and it allows you to kind of move a little bit better. The only thing I will say, because they brought dodge in, they took out crouch. And in my opinion, taking out crouch is not a good idea. Anyways, that's removed, and I hope, I'm praying that they bring it back. But they also changed levitate. Levitate is now, it has less of an impulse like that. It's more like a triple jump. So you get up high, and then you just go up and up and up and up. However, there is a specific amount you have to use. Like, so if you tap the button, it's going to use a pre-allotted amount. Levitate feels a little bit weird because they also reverted gravity a little bit. It's no longer as floaty as it was. Levitate being a little bit less impulsy, it's gonna feel a little hard. Whether it feels super great currently, I think it will feel better. The levitate feels a little bit clunky, but I think it's a great change in the long run. With levitate being added, and with the dodge being added, they did change a lot of the map to work with the new levitate. So a lot of things are like lower. Specifically, Banehelm, Hemwood, and Bogmore were changed a lot, and they're phenomenal. I love these maps. Are so much better than they were. There's a lot more like there. It's not just like openness, right? There's a lot more going on. You can hide a lot around more things. The maps were fantastic. Now with all of this being added, I've said balance a few times. They changed balance. Lightning got a nerf in damage. They also added in insane blooms, but it is a learned pattern, by the way. You can learn that pattern. Wind hitbox was reduced, Dragonfire was reduced, Stone's damage was reduced, and it was the pathing was actually slowed down a little bit. Also with Stone, Bedrock is not nearly as fast because the gravity changes. So it's just back to how it was in chapter 1. It feels that way. And all gauntlets were sped up. I think all gauntlets were sped up. It could be a lie. It could be a lie. From what I remember, all gauntlets are sped up. If that's not true, I'll clarify it later. But all gauntlets projectile speed was increased. So a thing that you might have noticed is that Frost damage was not touched, which is something that I have been begging for because people just all of a sudden loved using Frost, and it hurts my soul because it's so easy to use. Now Frost has been sped up. We're gonna do a bunch of videos. So I'm excited. You might have noticed at the beginning of the video that I said thank you to Spellbreak for sponsoring this video. We're starting to do sponsored content for Spellbreak. If you missed my announcement, go watch it right now because it's gonna clarify a few things because I know you're thinking about a few things. So I'm gonna put that down in the description. I love you, love yourself. And chapter 3 is gonna be dope. It's not a lot of content, but the balance feels so much better and it's way easier to just play for a long time. Hopefully chapter 4 is gonna bring a new game mode. We'll see. We don't really know. Maybe a new gauntlet, maybe some other things. We're gonna talk about my theory on the new gauntlets in a video soon. So, and yes, I said gauntlets, not one, multiple. Guys, love you, love yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.